Well, how about this? Two old friends get together and start talking, maybe trying to solve some of the world's problems, specifically when it comes to agriculture. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do today and we're going to fix all of the problems, but we are going to talk about a couple of things for you to do and I to do to make us better and understand multiple sides of stories that are impacting the way we grow food, the way we consume it, the way we regulate it, and have that conversation with our friends, neighbors, and loved ones. Janice Person is back with us. We've chatted a couple of times before, but her role is a little bit more now on the communication side of having that conversation. She's going to pose a couple of things here for us to think about in ways to help better understand, find some common ground to solve some issues. We're going to hit a whole lot of bigger picture things. I'm going to zing her with a couple of tough questions and get her to say, wow, which is tough to do. This is the MTOM podcast. I'm Paul Yeager. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. And, you know, we've come to like our little corner of agriculture, but we're trying to get a few more people in this corner and have a conversation about the way we grow, raise, and consume food. That's what this week's MTOM podcast episode is, so let's get to it. The last time we saw each other in person was right before COVID. Isn't the world a little different since then in 2020?
It's gotten a lot different, a lot different.
Both of our industries.
Yeah. When I last saw you, I was traveling because I was doing a lot of public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID came and shut that down really fast for over a year before it started coming back. Just
a year was all it really was for you?
A solid year without any meetings, right? You know, speaking on Zoom is not nearly as engaging, and the conferences that we were going to, I just loved going out. Like, I'm an extrovert, right? I extrovert all over everybody. And then suddenly for well over a year, and then I would say beyond that, there was probably another year because contracts had been put in place for different folks, right? So if you didn't have the contract when everything started opening back up, they were honoring contracts from a year or so before. So it was a wild time. And I'd started my business like 4-5 months before that.
It's all those timed businesses that you just don't know
right.
how they're going to be. So now you do these things. You're like, okay, are my screens rolling? Is this thing on? I'm going to make sure that we're in the right spot. Now you do that constantly.
Constantly.
What was there anything good though about the digital computer presentation world?
You know, for me, I ended up thinking a lot more about what I could do that could live on the internet in an edited final product, right? Training that I could do that way. That was, well,
it's like you've never done. Yeah, you've touched the mic. We might have to stop this and do it again.
But it was very different, right? And so it gave me some thoughts, and I think it's part of what led me to what I'm doing on a large spot today. But I still love doing it in person. Like, I love in-person meetings.
Your background is, I mean, your ex name is still has Cotton. Is Cotton still have a soft spot in your heart?
I'm still JP Loves Cotton on Instagram and stuff.
Oh, you are, aren't you?
I didn't give up the name.
But do you still have a soft spot for it?
I do. It's my favorite fiber, right? Like, I love natural fibers, but I mean, I wear a good bit of wool in the winter months. A lot of wool.
What is the main? What's your elevator pitch now to people of what you do?
What I do?
Yeah.
I do a lot of training and public speaking, but the training I do is really in that space of helping people not in agriculture really get agriculture. And I've done that for a long time, but the spin on it now is people who want to stay in ag. They want to learn enough so that they can do a career in ag. I'm trying to help them because it's weirdly hard to learn agriculture, and I don't think anybody really got that for a long time. If you're in it, you learn basic things as you grow up, like life cycles of animals.
And markets.
And seasonalities and all kinds of stuff that just doesn't hit with the rest of us in the world.
I don't know what it's I mean, I've been to St. Louis enough. I know how that town is structured, very
Yep.
ag heavy, but it's also, there's a lot of places that have no idea of the multi-billion-dollar world corporations that are in the town. Iowa's kind of the same way. We just think, oh, everybody farms in Iowa. There's
They
plenty of
don't.
people here who don't. Do
And
you
they
find,
don't know farmers,
and
right?
they don't know a farmer. They wouldn't know how. They wouldn't
They
know
can
where
go
to
to
go.
the farmer's market and they'll meet a small number of farmers that are in a certain niche, but they probably don't understand some of the other areas. And here's the thing, Paul, that really drove me doing this. We need so many more people to come into agriculture. The technology is insanely cool, but we need people who are just great at information technology, great at data. We can't only hire farm kids. Like, that used to be a thing where, like, every farm kid knew they had a job. Well, there aren't that many farm kids, and there's still a lot of things to be done in agriculture. So how are you going to help those people understand this business,
Well, I
the
want to,
science, all that stuff?
and I want to go to the community thing first. This is what I always like to talk about, like at the state
Oh,
fair.
I love it.
At the fair, it's always, I ask the Secretary of Ag. I always say, is this a blank canvas for you because you have urban people, rural people together? And I say, what is
What
it
does
you're
Mike
trying
say?
to talk about? Well, what does Mike say is that this is a good opportunity for us to talk to that farmer, to
Yeah.
find out, to stop. I encourage people to ask the kid who's showing the hog, tell me about your animal. And I
Go to the learning center.
do enough people do it? And he says, no.
No.
Why not? Why aren't people doing it?
I think there's a few different things going on. One, some people don't know they need it, right? Like, you think about it, though, in COVID, more people started caring about how food was sourced. I think they've gotten a little bit more comfortable again, but now that prices are going up and all these other things are happening, I'm hearing more people beginning to be more interested. They're really interested in why beef prices are up, right? Like, I mean, those kind of things, because they see it in the grocery store and they don't understand it. And that's problematic for somebody who's trying to feed their kids and want to be able to provide, various things, right? My mom didn't give us steak every night, but, now and then, and ground beef and chicken.
Well,
and
what's the phrase? We don't celebrate milestones with chicken. We celebrate with beef. I mean, that's what the beef people tell
That's
you.
what the beef people tell
That
you.
would mean we're not going to have any celebrations right now because it is high. But as I said to Mike Nag, I guess let's complete the conversation cycle. I go, Mike, you've got high prices for those who are producing it, but you got high prices for those who are trying to buy it. At some point, that is going to not mesh, and you're going to have this disconnect. Do you think the consumer has, thanks to COVID, understands the food cycle a little bit more, and that's why they can understand the beef prices higher?
I think they understand it a little bit more, but I think they understood a few more links in that supply chain, right? But they still don't understand why farmers are getting paid really well for their beef. And it's a complicated, I mean, like, I ask people in ag, and a lot of them are like going, I don't know, I'm just selling the steers that I have happily, right? I'm selling my beef happily right now. But the idea of how do we get to a better place, each individual farmer tries to figure out what they can do to get to a better place for their farm and their family, invest a little bit if they're bringing in beef money right now. But pigs and poultry and dairy,
Well,
dairy is now growing beef.
yes, dairy's actually benefited with some of their animals that that they would normally sell off or maybe keep, but now they're selling them they're actually making money on some of those
I've
steers.
talked to a lot of dairy farmers over the last couple of years, and more some are putting some beef breeds in their breeding program, so they have a little more of the meat quality that people want with beef. Still, they're still looking for dairy calves and heifers, right? But those steers, more of them are raising them out, and they go into our Wendy's burgers or whatever it is, right? To help. Dairy has been challenged economically so much longer than a lot of the other parts of the business. I remember when we first connected back on Twitter, I can remember multiple dairy farmers closing down, right? And selling their cows.
And there's still stories of them having
And
that.
that's still happening, right? And I would say, sadly, people probably ought to pay attention this year because it may happen across different kinds of farms too. More equipment being auctioned, more, like it's a tough time. I entered ag in the 80s, and I can
Did
remember
something significant happen in the 80s in ag?
there's some kind of like farm crisis thing, right? But it feels like we're sort of maybe going to enter that kind of thing again when I talk to a lot of people in ag. People have been stretched a while, and they're being stretched more, and China's not buying. And
So does that mean this is, in every crisis, is an opportunity? What's the opportunity now for agriculture?
Gosh, that's a big one. I think it's a time for people in ag to remember that people who voted differently or whatever really aren't your enemies. I see the polarization coming back in such weird ways. And so many people are picking teams without understanding we need those people in the gray areas, right? Like people between us. The political space has gotten that way pretty hard. And I know a lot of farmers are looking for help because I love having food that's grown and made in the USA, right? Like, I love having knowledge how it was produced so that I know maybe kids weren't taken out of school for months to pick this crop. And that absolutely happens in some places in the world, and those might be some of the places where people would be growing things for us if we don't produce it locally. I think if we don't figure out a way to talk about that in a way that gets other people interested at the table, it's going to be uglier, right? Like, it really is a common ground kind of issue for most people who eat food or produce food right now. The pricing is out of control for everybody. What could we do together to try and figure out a system that'll work better for us?
If you'd like to see the 3 most commented stories that we've done on Market in the last 6 months and probably the last 10 years, you want to guess the topics?
Oh, gosh. I hate to guess.
We've already talked about 2 of them. Labor is one.
Oh.
2 is the meat prices and the screwworm.
Yeah.
That's become a thing.
Yeah.
And and there's there's theories of it's JBS or the big meat packer is at the center of this, not wanting imports from another country, which ties back into the first one when it comes to labor. And the third one is about swamp busting.
Yeah.
And taking land out of government support and trying to put it back in, and who owns the land. Those 3 topics I have not seen in a long time us have comments about that. So there are strong opinions about.
They're very strong opinions.
So how do we land those opinions into a good space where we can talk about this openly?
I think that's one of the things we have to have venues like this where people might not totally agree on everything, but they can discuss them and they can talk about what we might need, right? And you're not going to find that really common on Twitter anymore. It used to be that way, right? But it's been 10 years it started eroding and it wasn't as good a public conversation. We need more public forums that can be done in a productive way. It's not going to be a political rally or I've seen Missouri, I've seen what happened in Iowa, right? It's not productive for anybody. And right now, it seems only productive for people in power or parties in power.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yes, parties in power are getting in power because they're the loudest.
Yeah.
And so then they would say, why would I change what allowed me to win to get here?
They won't.
That's what I'm saying. They're not going to.
I know they won't. But people like us have to be more involved before the primaries and then really involved in the primaries, right? So
I think people are.
Yeah.
I mean, in Iowa, we always have this history of being involved with the caucus and ahead of the game, and we stew and stew and stew, and we can't decide, and Iowa waits until the very last minute to decide, well, Iowa doesn't have the caucus anymore for first in the nation for the Democrats. The Republicans are still here.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you have one party who's getting attention and the other one's not. And so,
Yeah.
and other states didn't like Iowa's position or seat at the table.
Oh, yeah. Iowa is a uniquely...
I mean, Iowa took it very seriously, that role.
I understand that.
And now I don't know how much, there's a lot of the trying to put my shoulders up and down as best I can without getting in your camera shot.
It's a tough one. I don't think there's easy answers for any of it. But there aren't very many places where people are willing to have the uncomfortable conversation is part of the issue, right? Like, how many people do you know that have written off members of their family? I mean, I never had that in my life. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, you would just not talk to family members because you voted differently and you want to argue your votes. My parents voted differently all the time.
So they
My
were
mom,
the cancel out, right? The cancel out, the cancel
my
couple.
mom used to tell us she canceled out my dad's vote on a regular basis. And we just kind of thought, well, okay. Like, dad was in the room when she'd say it, right? Like, it's not like, it's not like she was hiding it, only telling the kids. But it's a strange thing that people have gotten so fervent in what they think that it feels absolute and that it allows no room for anybody else to have different experiences, opinions, knowledge, right? And I think that's where we've gotten to a problem is that things aren't absolute. Things that work for me don't work for you, maybe. Maybe they do. But we probably ought to see before we assume.
But I like sports. I talk about it a lot. Sports has made it so there's winners and losers.
Yeah.
That's how stories in Time and Newsweek and the
Yeah.
paper, winners and losers of this
the time.
debate. That's how we view things. We
Yeah.
don't view gray anymore.
Right.
Okay, I want to get back to your main thing. I mean, we can talk about this, but it ties perfectly into it. It's technology. Because technology is one of those things that we can have the comments of people we don't necessarily agree with filtered out of our timeline.
Yeah.
Or we can have them inside. But we also have this theory about big information, whether it's AI in chat or in agriculture. Where is the technology going to help us most in agriculture?
Ooh, where is technology going to help us the most? So I think we're finally getting to where technology is helping a range of sizes of operations, whereas early on, it seemed to only benefit the biggest farms. And that, to me, feels great. I love the idea of having different size farms. I have friends who really want to keep scaling up. They want to be able to bring their grandkids back, right? Not just their kids anymore, right? And for some of them, that means they have to scale differently. For others, I mean, I met a guy who, found dairy cows in high school showing. He thought the jerseys were kind of neat. And next thing you know, he's figured out how to get a loan, how to get a robot. He still has a regular day job, but he's got a small dairy started. And he couldn't have done that without technology, right? So maybe there are going to be some things that can help on smaller farms as well. And that is what most people in the U.S. feel more comfortable with, right? They like the idea of small farms. Like a
Always
block.
Always have.
Here's one block of land, and it's got a house on it, and a pretty barn, hopefully, right? I like that. I also like the big farms, right? Like, I have friends with big farms. I know what I get out of those farms, right? Pistachios, for instance, right? Like some amazing crops, or lots of corn, or lots of beef, right? I think technology being able to work at different points of the scale it feels more equitable, that kind of thing. I love that.
Do you like what the information can give us I'm sorry, is the information that you're talking about helping us decide what to plant or how to just be more efficient in what we're planting?
It can help us decide what to plant. Things like the robot can actually help you figure out a cow is getting ill before the cow is ill, right? There's things that are indicators, right? Like, with kids at your house, if one of them is suddenly not bouncing off the walls, right, with little kids, then, maybe they're getting sick. They don't have a temperature yet, right? You could go ahead and take that cow out of the milking herd before they're actually ill. Make sure you're going to get that cow where they need to be. Is it something serious, or is it just today they're feeling off, right?
And and I'm sure there are operations that can tell to the ounce how much cow number 5250,
Oh,
5253.
absolutely.
They know all those things. That technology.
And it's all digital
And
from
it's
the
all
moment
digital,
it
and we all
comes
know it.
in. The
Yeah.
cow has a tag in their ear,
And we know if they've not been taking enough steps or eating properly. So, yeah. But that to me feels though it's unattainable for that small farmer.
also the examples I'm using is that guy who
With
bought a robot
the small.
for his really
so
small
see?
farm. And and
Way
the
to
thing
break that
is,
notion.
the thing is, I think at one point we thought big farms and they'd have numbers of cows instead of names, right? And some people thought, oh, I wish they had Betsy Sue or Elsie or whatever as the lead cow, right? So those farmers care about their cattle just as much as the ones that only have a few that call them Lula May and stuff, right? Like it really isn't about the size of the herd, but the amount of data that you can get and the useful tools that you can use to generate things into what's really useful for you. It's mind blowing, and it's not just on the animal side. Now you can. I was talking to a company the other day that has a really effective sprayer that only sprays when there are weeds that are identified, right? That's the kind of stuff, that sounds awesome. Like, don't spray the soil, let's spray weeds. Like, that sounds perfect. And you can't do that without the technology on the sprayer that then is integrated in to make sure that the goes out at just the right moment.
Because the eye can tell what kind of weed it is or identify that is a weed. I got to spray it.
Yeah.
That, again, sounds unattainable for some, but that is what the reality is of if we're going to have clean water or less chemical. Because the farmer will tell you, if you say, well, you're the problem, why am I drinking water, why I can't, it's like, do you really think I'm going to spend all this money on fertilizer on this acre of land when it is so expensive? No. I'm going to ration that as best I can.
Farmers would never want to do it, right? They'd never want to overspend.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean,
they're chronic underspenders.
They're running a business, right? And
Yeah.
they're trying to protect their investment. They want to be able to provide it to the next generation, right? They want to make it better. Not only in financial soundness, but also environmentally. That all those things, they want to make it better for the next generation. That's part of your commitment.
Well, we have a part, we're again combine some of our past conversations into this part.
Okay.
Is the environment, because you have some that think there's not an environmental problem, that something is made up or is not the real cause of it. Then you have op-ed after op-ed about why is water not clean? Why can't I swim at this lake? Then you've got others who are like, we are creating jobs and helping the economy. Whatever happens, happens. How do you center all of those in a conversation that you are trying to lead?
Yeah. So I actually did that not too long ago with people from several different areas of the country that grow different crops, different livestock, and to talk about sustainability and talk about what water means in their area. First off, some people assume that the way you talk about water is the same from one place to another. So helping people understand where there are differences really makes the conversation change. In a place like Iowa, are you guys getting enough rain this year, last year? It's variable, right? Like, there will be years here where it is absolutely drought stricken. This year was a pretty good year. Got rains at the right time for most people. Not going to find that in some parts of the country more years than not, right? Nebraska, Texas. There are areas where that, so you can't have one conversation about water. Also, whether the water's dirty or clean or whether it's been contaminated, you can't just assume it's farming, because there's also things like battery plants, right? Like, there's so much more than farming. You may see farming when you're driving around an area because it's out in the open, a lot of it. But you may not see other things that are going on in the same watersheds, right? And people, sometimes people don't understand all the complexities.
And it goes back to, we need a winner and a loser. We need to pin it on farmers or the battery plant or the golf course or the
headlines
are
and tweets, right, are what people get. But what I find more and more people love going in depth, whether it's audiobooks, podcast, whatever, right? They love going in depth on things. I am blown away by the number. So I've been working on all these videos of different things, right? And one was on a course about wheat, like to help you know most of the stuff you need to know about wheat to work in a wheat business. And one of the things we did was talk to a guy who's the wheat specialist in Kansas. He probably knows a lot about wheat. And then we went downstairs and we talked to the milling and baking lab. My niece helps me in my business. She's busy helping me with things. Her boyfriend is coming in and going, wait, what's happening in the video? What are they doing? Wait, that's why our biscuits are fluffier or not? Because there are people there and explain it, right? And so part of what I'm trying to do is help people see there is a lot of complexity. There's not one farmer. There's stereotypes of Iowa farmers. Iowa farmers are not the same. There may be a stereotype, but they are not all the same. So let's look at some of the differences. Let's look at how they're running their business. Let's look at how they decided to set up their business. Some of them set them up as corporations. Some of them didn't, right? Like there's all these different things. And to really understand agriculture, you have to start thinking about gray. You can't do it in black and white and actually be able to run a business.
I cannot always get through to people about the importance of understanding how their food is grown.
Yeah.
But when I only have half an hour, which is in depth in today's media world for what we do, I can't always get people interested in the show.
Yeah.
Because, that doesn't apply to me. But it does.
I think people can be, and we all do it, right? Like we can be so narrowly focused on what we know impacts us that it's probably a good idea to every quarter or so to pull your head up out of the cube farm and see what else is around you and see what else is going on. But I think that happens to all of us. It doesn't matter if you're in farming or not, right? And a lot of farmers don't always have perspective on why people in a city like Des Moines, which they think is all surrounded by corn and soybeans, so why don't they understand corn and soybeans? But that's not their reality. If you're living in Des Moines, you're focused on whatever it is that's your day to day. That little drive out in the country on the weekends, that's like a totally different thing. So it becomes complicated.
But
it's individual responsibility to learn.
It is, but the individual has been fed an algorithm before algorithms were a thing.
Yep.
If they lived in Garner, Iowa, they only knew what happened in Garner, and they didn't necessarily know what happened in Des Moines. Des Moines is so far away, they're making terrible decisions for me. I can't believe it. Forest City, don't even get me started. Whereas we went to the same coffee shop or the co-op and we had the same conversation with the same people and you heard the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
The new radical person came into town and told you about, they're planting this thing called soybeans. And then that changed. We've long been in our silos, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
It's like the same who likes the NFL. They don't know anything about the college game or the high school game.
Yeah.
Or they don't understand hockey or they don't, or music. I mean, you pick the topic.
Yeah.
We just don't spread the information. Do you suspect the fewer people living in rural spots as these towns get smaller in Missouri and Illinois and Iowa and Kansas and Texas and Oklahoma, we're going to have a harder time in agriculture convincing people the importance of agriculture?
We've had a harder time as every percentage has left the ag world, right? Each change has been a significant disadvantage to ag. It's becoming more and more a minority, right? And now we have a lot of people who work in ag who don't really understand ag even, right? Because I didn't grow up with it. How did I learn it? I ended up staying in ag long enough to learn it, right? And I've learned enough to know I don't know a lot of things.
That's the first step right there is to admit that you don't know something.
Right. Like I know I don't know a lot of things. I've had lots of, bath by fire kind of moments, right? I think, most people need to take a little more responsibility for themselves. and that comes back to farmers too, right? Like if you see that you have an opinion that is diametrically opposed to other people, what makes their opinion go that direction so much further away from you? Can you have a conversation with somebody about it? Maybe not somebody who's all in on that perception, but is there somebody else you could find that you could find their podcast and just push yourself to listen? Because I've made myself listen to some podcasts that I told people I will never listen to that podcast.
This one included.
And I've made myself listen to a few of those because I realized you're the problem. If you're not being part of the solution, then you're part of the problem, right? And so I've read books that other friends were raving about and then read them and said, this perspective is a little different. Like, here's why it's different for me. And so finding some trusted people, it may not be a large number of people, but finding some trusted people. And I think libraries do a good job of trying to put people together for public forums. They bring in authors, they bring in speakers. Universities, you may not agree with them on other things, but when they bring in speakers and things, some of them do an okay job.
But we struggle with everybody's motivation. Trust is something that is not, those that we've put all this trust in have been found to, that's been torn down. But that's also biblical too. We're not supposed to put all this trust in false things. But we don't think it's false at the time.
If we all take the effort to try and see how did that come about for you? You become the trusted person. Because they realize, okay, wait, you're not so entrenched in where you are. You're willing to try and see what my ideas are shaped into. You're reading a book that I recommended that I know doesn't agree with what you're doing, right? Like I've done that with friends. Mm-hmm. Let's all read a book we don't agree with. Let's figure out where we might find some things that, I could agree on these parts. Could you? Right? And have those kind of conversations. I think it's easy to stay in the algorithm.
It's hard to break it.
It takes personal choice. It takes not hiding the people you disagree with when they make you mad. Or snooze them for 30 days. Don't snooze them forever. If you need to take a break. Right?
We're all talking about that one cousin.
Well, I have the one uncle.
So if anything I'm learning here is and that to me is what I've long felt about the public media side of things. And when we've just gone through, I've not talked much in this podcast about the cuts to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. And I've long felt in the public sector that we work for all taxpayers. That's what we've long since done, not for one advertiser.
There's going to be shows I don't like. There's going to be shows I love.
And
it's okay.
I enjoy talking to people. Period. End of sentence. I enjoy talking to people. But I enjoy people of talking. I do. I really do, because I do embrace someone that I'm kind of like, not really sure we can connect, but we can connect this way and find, I think, isn't there more we're together on than we're apart on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think right now a lot more people are learning that by seeing, wait a minute, this isn't what I expected. Mm-hmm. This isn't what I thought was going to happen. And being able to say, maybe I'll take a little different look at things for a few minutes. It's vulnerable. It doesn't feel good. Like, it feels good to go, I know I'm right.
We don't like to do things.
Right.
We don't like to do that. We do stick to our silo and our algorithm. It's hard for us to step out of it.
I like to challenge people. I like to challenge myself. I mean, seriously, otherwise, why would you have people like me? I'm city girl. Like, city. My parents went to the farmer's market because we were poor, not because it was like the farmer's markets are now. Because we had to put up food for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. We had a garden for the same reason, right? And I think now when you look at it, there's no reason people like me would come into agriculture unless somebody is saying, hey, We're reaching out. We think there's a lot more in common. Water is a perfectly good example. I've not ever met a farmer who didn't care about water. Now, they may not want everybody else making rules about how it's used.
That's a big
and
thing.
things like that. I get it. Maybe we don't lead with that as the conversation. Maybe we lead with the fact, I really want clean water for my family. I take that as a personal responsibility because we live on our well. That is something I invest a lot of time and effort in. Do you know how much time and effort it takes when you know it's your well and you're responsible for the water? We're not going to Des Moines Waterworks to see how my water is going to get filtered. It's all done right here on my land. That changes the whole conversation if you start it out that way rather than saying, I don't want you to take my water from me. I don't want you to say what's going to happen with the water on my land. If you can start with that common ground and then eventually go, well, here's something that really concerns me about water. And I know cities need water. I need water. We all need clean water, right? So we agree on that? Okay. So then come back and, you know, it really is conversational. And I think if more people are having the conversation with their elected officials, whether they voted for them or not, don't just only call the people you didn't vote for or the people you did vote for. Call both, right? And help them understand.
Who needs to lead that conversation? Because the elected person's not doing it.
Oh, they're never going to do it.
So, but if you're that one citizen who always goes to, Janice is always at these meetings. She's always complaining. I'm not going to listen to her.
No, I don't go and complain.
But that's what I'm saying. That's how some people view those.
You go and discuss.
That's how some people are. You might be viewed, whether you choose that way or not. So how do you have that? Open that dialogue. Just be the better person, right? And say
it's hard, right? Like be the person your grandparents wanted you to be, or your parents, right? Like you have to think about making others. Like, okay, is this something I should be proud of? Right? Like, our grandparents did not teach us to act this way. And yelling and screaming and pointing fingers and cursing people out online or in person or whatever. Please, my grandmother would snatch me up. That's a Southern thing. You can tell Memphis is really my hometown.
You slipped it in right there.
Snatch me up.
Yeah, she'd snatch you up. Okay, as we close, give me there's no easy pill for any of this.
No.
So I'm hearing, let me see if I can summarize the points. Try a different viewpoint to see where they're coming from in that viewpoint in any situation.
Yeah.
Type understand. Find common ground with someone who might be critical of us and just see if there's something we can agree on and build trust that way. Give me lastly, let's do one more job pitch because I've got one in college who I don't know what I kind of think I know what he's going to do, but his friends who might not.
Yeah.
Why should they think agriculture for a job?
I think agriculture is a place where you can create real meaning. What I see with Gen Z is they don't want to spend their time building something that doesn't matter. So if you want to do something that really matters, feeding people and taking care of the planet, tell me there's somewhere better to be, right? Like, I just don't get it. Like, there's nowhere better to be. And then what I've committed to doing is trying to help people who come into ag understand it. I've got online programs that help. I'm working with, HR departments and stuff to try and get that available to new people coming into ag because they need to be able to understand how to talk to others, understand the diversity of what's happening, not call all cattle cows. Some are steers or bulls, and if you're talking in a beef world, that really matters, right? Help them avoid some of those things, and then those people in ag need to stop eye rolling quite so much when people make mistakes if they're not from the farm.
Here's your opportunity.
This is it.
Yeah, I appreciate you making time for me. Thank you.
I love being in the studio. This is a lot of fun.
We could do this for a long time.
I'm gonna get a bobblehead.
All right, we'll get you a bobblehead. Thanks, Janice. Great to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you. New episodes come out each and every Tuesday. We will see you on the other side. My thanks to the production crew led by Sean Ingrassia, Neil Kyer, Kevin Rivers, Reed Denker, David Feingold, Julie Knudsen, and you. And also our executive producer of the Market to Market TV show is David Miller. Thanks for watching. See you next time.